You know that feeling when you stumble upon something really old, something that's just endured, like maybe a worn letter or, I don't know, an ancient tool.
Yeah, there's a weight to it, a sense of history.
Exactly. It feels like it holds a kind of wisdom, you know, something beyond just its age, something deeply human. And it makes me think about our own minds, how much potential is just sitting there, waiting
To be uncovered, perhaps, not necessarily learned from scratch.
Right, like facets of a diamond that just haven't caught the light yet.
That image of uncovering, it's powerful, isn't it?
It really is.
It suggests the brilliance is, well, it's already there, just veiled.
Yeah.
So our work maybe is more about gentle revealing,
Yeah.
removing the things that hide that inner light.
And it's so easy to get caught up in the idea that we need to constantly get more, you know?
Accumulation.
Yeah, more information, more experiences. But I was thinking about something. The idea that maybe real understanding starts not with piling things on, but with seeing what we already hold.
Recognizing what's present.
Yes. It's like that quiet knowing that sometimes just pops up when you're not even looking for it. That feels really relevant for someone like you, maybe seeking knowledge, not just fast, but like deeply. So this exploration we're doing, it isn't really about filling a void, is it?
No, I don't think so. It's more about illuminating what's already there. That desire for external stuff, it can often be, well, a distraction, can it?
Hold on.
A distraction from the profound wisdom that actually lives in stillness.
Stillness.
It's when we pause, when we turn our attention inward, that's when we start to really hear the whispers, you know, of our own being.
That wisdom from our experiences.
Our own, and maybe those generations back, too.
And the world, well, it definitely doesn't make it easy to find that stillness, does it?
Not at all. Constant noise.
It feels like we're constantly being pulled in a million directions.
Yeah.
You know, work demands, the endless phone notifications, the pressure to always be doing something.
Achieving, yeah.
And in all that noise, these older ways of thinking, these like fundamental truths, they feel less like old relics and more like anchors, lifelines almost.
Essential anchors, yes.
Take the concept of Dhamma,
Yeah.
that idea of universal principles that just govern how things are.
The underlying order.
It's not some abstract philosophy class thing, is it? It feels like the very fabric of existence, something that touches every single one of us, no matter what we do all day.
Exactly. Dhamma isn't separate from our daily lives. It is the underlying order. It flows through everything.
How do we see it, though?
By observing, paying attention. The natural world, the rhythm of our own breath, even just noticing how our emotions rise and fall. That's where we start to glimpse these universal laws actually working.
Okay, so in this deep dive, we're going to look at some of these really basic fundamental principles, ideas that have, you know, echoed across different traditions and really stood the test of time. And we'll think about how they actually play out now in our lives today. Not just theories, but like practical ways to handle things and maybe find a bit more peace.
Our aim really is to uncover the wisdom in these principles and explore how they're still relevant, you know, for the challenges and opportunities we have now, offering insights perhaps that can help foster a more harmonious way of being.
Okay, so where should we start? Maybe with this idea that everything is always changing, constantly, what's sometimes called impermanence or anicca.
Yes, anicca, the constant flux.
I often picture a river. It's always flowing, always different, isn't it? From one second to the next.
You can't step into the same river twice, that old saying.
Exactly. And that's so true for everything in life, right?
Yeah.
Relationships change, careers shift, even our own bodies and minds are, well, always in motion.
The very nature of reality is flux, flow. And to resist that constant flow.
Well, that's where we create friction, isn't it? That's where suffering often comes in.
Because we cling. We cling to what is inevitably going to change, so we set ourselves up for disappointment. But recognizing, really seeing the impermanence of everything, it allows us to meet each moment with more acceptance.
It's that resistance, holding on so tight, that causes so much pain, you know? We grip onto how we think things should be, people staying the same, situations never changing. But this principle, Annika, it suggests there's actually freedom in recognizing nothing stays put.
Freedom.
It's not about being passive, like giving up, but just accepting the natural way things are.
And acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It's not just throwing your hands up. It's about acknowledging the reality of change, but without layering judgment on it. And that allows us to navigate life's changes, the ups and downs, with maybe a bit more ease, more resilience.
Right.
When we understand that loss and gain are both just part of the cycle, we can approach them with a more balanced view.
I remember reading about someone, I think they founded a company, poured everything into it, heart and soul. And then things happened, things they couldn't control, and it all just fell apart.
Oh, wow. Devastating.
Totally. And at first they were just consumed by grief, anger,
Yeah.
all of it. But then reflecting on these ideas, on impermanence,
Yeah.
they started to see that the company, like everything, was subject to change.
It shifted something.
Yeah. It didn't just magically erase the pain, obviously, but it shifted their focus away from clinging to what was and towards, well, what could be next. It was in letting go of the past that they found the space, the energy to build something new.
That's a beautiful illustration, really. The transformative power of accepting impermanence.
Yeah.
It shows that when we release our attachment, to specific outcomes, we actually open ourselves up. New possibilities emerge, and we cultivate this inner resilience that helps us weather life's storms.
Right.
Because storms will come, right?
Right. They inevitably do. So, okay, how can we actually bring this understanding into our everyday lives? It feels like it has to start with just paying attention.
Mindfulness. Observation.
Yeah. Noticing the small, constant changes. The seasons turning, a plant growing on the windowsill, even just our own moods shifting through the day.
Training ourselves to observe without immediately judging.
Just acknowledging, okay, this is temporary, this is flowing.
Yes. And when we face something difficult, maybe instead of automatically pushing back,
Yeah.
we could pause and ask perhaps, what is this teaching me about change? How can I adapt here?
That's a practical step.
Mindfulness really is the practice that cultivates this kind of non-judgmental observation. By bringing our attention right here to the present moment, we can witness things arising and passing away thoughts, feelings, situations without getting totally swept away by our reactions to them.
So it helps loosen that grip, that illusion that things are permanent.
Exactly. It helps us find a sense of freedom within that ever-changing flow of life.
Okay, now let's shift a bit. Let's talk about this idea of release, letting go. It feels so connected to inner peace, doesn't it?
Deeply connected.
Sometimes that peace feels so far away because we're just holding on to so much stuff.
Burdens.
Yeah. Past hurts, resentments, regrets. It's like carrying this heavy backpack we don't need, just draining our energy.
Those burdens from past hurts, they really can weigh us down, hinder our ability to feel joy or peace right now.
And it seems like at the heart of releasing that weight is forgiveness.
Forgiveness is key, but it's often misunderstood, I think.
How so?
Well, forgiveness isn't really about condoning what someone did, or pretending it didn't happen, or forgetting.
Right, it's not making excuses.
No, it's about liberating ourselves, freeing ourselves from the emotional chains of resentment and pain. It's an internal shift.
That distinction is so crucial, isn't it?
Yeah.
Forgiveness isn't saying, hey, what happened was okay. It's more like saying, I'm not going to let this keep harming me anymore.
Precisely. You choose to stop carrying that particular weight.
I remember hearing a story, a very old one, about a woman who lost her child. Just unbearable grief. And she went searching everywhere for a cure for death. She went from house to house, asking for a single mustard seed, but only from a family that had never known loss, never experienced bereavement.
Ah, yes, Kizukodani.
Right. And of course, she couldn't find a single house like that.
No.
Every family had known sorrow.
The universality of loss.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in that search, in recognizing that shared human suffering, she started to find a path towards acceptance, towards healing, not by finding a magic seed, but by understanding.
That ancient story speaks volumes, doesn't it? About our shared experience of sorrow and the transformative power of acceptance.
Yeah.
Forgiveness, really, in its essence, is an act of radical acceptance. Accepting the reality of what happened, accepting our feelings about it, definitely. And then choosing to release the grip it has on our hearts and minds.
So, okay, practically speaking, how do we cultivate this in our daily lives? It feels like maybe it has to start with ourselves.
Self-compassion is definitely the foundation. Acknowledging our own mistakes, our own imperfections, offering ourselves the same kindness we might try to extend to others.
That's often the hardest part.
It can't be, but recognizing our own fallibility helps us approach others' imperfections with a bit more understanding, maybe.
And then maybe turning towards those who've hurt us. Not necessarily to excuse them, but just to untangle ourselves from that feeling, that resentment.
Yes. Practices like journaling can be helpful. Just getting the feelings out without judgment.
Writing it down.
Or even just taking a quiet moment. Intentionally bringing a specific grievance to mind and consciously choosing in that moment to let it go, to release it.
Small steps.
Small conscious steps. Forgiveness is ultimately, I think, a gift we give ourselves. It's a pathway to inner freedom.
Okay, so we've talked about impermanence, about release through forgiveness. What about finding balance, that idea of the middle way?
Ah, yes, the middle way, avoiding extremes.
Life just throws so many extremes at us, doesn't it? Excess and deprivation, pushing too hard and giving up completely, being super rigid or totally chaotic.
All the polarities.
Yeah. And it seems like true well-being, that sense of equilibrium, lies somewhere in navigating that middle ground.
It does. The middle way represents a path of wisdom, of moderation, a rejection of those extremes in favor of something more harmonious, sustainable.
And this came from the Buddha's own experience,
Yeah.
right? Trying both extreme indulgence and extreme self-denial.
Exactly. He realized neither led to liberation, neither extreme worked. It was a balanced approach that opened the door.
That really hits home with so many challenges today, doesn't it?
Like
like-
what?
Well, burnout, for one, is so common. It comes from pushing ourselves relentlessly, right? Ignoring our need for rest, for recovery.
A clear manifestation of imbalance, yes.
Yeah.
Pushing beyond our capacity without allowing for that necessary recovery.
But then the opposite extreme, like complete apathy or lack of engagement, that leads to stagnation, doesn't it? A lack of fulfillment.
Also true. So the middle way encourages us to find a sustainable rhythm, a sustainable pace, recognizing our limits, integrating activity with rest and reflection,
Finding that sweet spot.
a balanced approach that actually fosters both productivity and well-being. They aren't mutually exclusive.
So how do we practice this middle way, day to day?
Well, it could be as simple as just being more mindful of our energy levels. Are you running on empty? Okay, take a break. Don't push into exhaustion constantly.
Listening to our bodies.
Listening to our bodies, yes, and our emotions too. Finding balance in our thoughts and feelings, not getting completely carried away by extreme highs or lows, observing them instead.
And even basic things.
Even basic things. How we eat. Not constant overindulgence, but also not excessive restriction. Finding moderation.
Mindful eating, perhaps?
That's a perfect example, and maybe most importantly, trying to align our outer actions with our inner values. Finding that authentic middle ground in how we actually live.
Living authentic.
That cultivates a sense of inner harmony. And that tends to radiate outward, influencing how we engage with everything, ourselves, others, the world.
It's fascinating, really, how these three ideas, embracing impermanence, releasing through forgiveness, finding balance, they aren't separate things, are they?
Not at all. They're deeply intertwined. They support each other.
Yeah, it feels like they form this kind of whole approach to living with a bit more wisdom, maybe a bit less suffering.
They are interconnected facets of a larger understanding, yes. Embracing impermanence makes it easier to let go, to forgive.
Right. Because you see things change anyway.
And forgiveness, that release, it can lead to a greater sense of inner balance. You're not carrying that weight anymore.
And seeking balance requires you to be mindful of change.
Like exactly. It's a dynamic interplay, a continuous unfolding, a practice.
It's not like a destination you just arrive at and you're done.
Definitely not. It's an ongoing process. Continuous learning, continuous adjustment. Harmony isn't static, it's found in the adjusting.
So, for anyone listening, as you're reflecting on this, maybe consider how these ideas might be speaking to you right now. In this moment, are there places in your life where you feel like you're resisting change, pushing against the flow?
Is there a burden, perhaps, that you feel ready to set down, to release?
Or are you feeling pulled towards one extreme or another, maybe needing a little more balance?
And remember, these are just gentle guides, invitations.
Yeah, not rigid rules.
No. Invitations to explore, to experiment with what resonates for you personally. They offer a framework for navigating life with maybe a bit more awareness, more intention.
Supporting your own journey toward well-being and understanding. So as we gently bring this deep dive to a close, I just want to leave you with this thought. What if the wisdom you've been seeking, the answers you've been searching for out there in the world, what if they've actually been quietly residing inside you all along? Maybe the real journey isn't about finding something totally new, but about having the courage to just turn inward.
To look.
To look. And to recognize the profound truths that are perhaps already there, waiting to be seen.